This car was designed to run on human waste, and not just run, it was designed to race at the Le Mans 24 hours. Not only was the fuel source unconventional, the overall design of the car was wildly different to anything which had raced at Le Mans, or indeed anywhere before or since. This is the 2016 WR Biomethane LMP from Welter Racing. Funding shortages meant that the car never actually raced, and as a result, it's almost entirely forgotten. I think that's wrong, as this is one of the most interesting and exciting race car designs of the 21st century. Welter Racing, commonly known as WR, is a name familiar to longer-serving sports car racing fans. The tiny French team had close ties to Peugeot Sport. Indeed, the team was founded by Peugeot's head of design, Gerard Welter. Over the years, the team has had a long line of interesting sports prototypes. Its WM P88 famously hit 405 kph on the Mulsanne straight, 251 mph in obsolete measurements. In more recent years, there were a series of really interesting designs, closely based on the Peugeot Spider Cup car of 1991-1992. That car gave its aerodynamic concept and styling cues to the subsequent line of WR Le Mans prototypes, right up to and including the cars which raced at Le Mans in 2006, though there were quite a lot of engineering changes in between. These cars were then followed by the all-new and completely fascinating WR LMP 2008, which didn't actually race at Le Mans until 2010. Alternative fuels then became the focus for Welter, first with the Green GT H2, and then the car which is the subject of this video, the WR Biomethane. The idea of the car was simple: to contest the Le Mans 24 hours with an engine running on recycled human waste, fecal matter, for fuel. There was even a suggestion that the content of the public toilets at the track during the 2016 24 hours would be harvested to make the fuel for the car to race on in the same event in 2017. A bespoke 3-cylinder 1600cc turbocharged engine was designed for the car, with its engineering headed by Jean-Pierre Boudy. This was the man who jointly designed the first ever turbocharged Formula 1 engine and went on to design the power plant in the legendary Peugeot 905. This, though, was a WR engine, designed and developed by the team in-house with Boudy's direction. Nobody had ever designed a racing engine to run on human waste before, so once the waste had been processed and refined, it became biomethane, a combustible gas. However, as a gaseous fuel, it lacked the energy density of conventional liquid racing fuel, so the team realised it would have to be cryogenically stored in the car, something WR had actually learnt about while they were developing the Green GT. The tank would store the fuel at 10 bar pressure, and the engine would have to run at a relatively high compression ratio of 13:1. However, the power unit needed a chassis to run in, and the chassis of the WR Biomethane was just as unconventional as its fuel. Notably, it was originally designed as the basis of a WR LMP1 car aimed at contesting the 2014 Le Mans 24 hours, but that project never came to fruition. Although it was a two-seater by regulation, the layout looked much more like a single-seater than a Le Mans prototype, with the four wheels housed in external pods, while the centre line of the car was kept as tight as possible. To save weight, the car had as little bodywork as possible, with the upper surfaces of the wheels fully exposed. Indeed, when the team first tested in the full-scale wind tunnel at IAT in Paris, it did it without any bodywork whatsoever on the car, as the team wanted to understand fully the impact of adding bodywork sections to the car. The resulting design was spectacular. It's not really reflected in the concept renderings, but you can see it here in this picture taken during one of the wind tunnel sessions. Note the wall tufts on the bodywork. The car has a very wide and high nose, though its wheels are largely exposed behind the front fairings. Behind the front wheel, the most surprising thing is what you can't see rather than what you can. There's no floor. Indeed, the floor only starts about halfway along the car, underneath the small and highly sculpted side pod. It then rises up really rapidly. The bodywork ahead of the rear wheels looks more like one of the 2012 IndyCar concepts than a Le Mans prototype. From the rear, you can see a bit more of the concept. As you can see, the car has pushrod suspension all round, but it has an absolutely enormous diffuser. The team felt that this combination of a small floor with a large diffuser would result in a very aerodynamically stable car. Have a look at these little elements on the edge of the side pod. Very nice detailing and a little hint of maybe some of those elements we saw on the WR 2008. I don't know what you'd call these, bits that stick out maybe? The biplane rear wing has twin supports, but note the actuator on the centre line of the car. The whole rear wing is active, with only a single pivot point on the mounts. Less obvious is the fact that the front of the car also features fully active aerodynamics. WR was able to do this as it planned to enter Le Mans as the Garage 56 entry, where the normal Le Mans prototype technical regulations are not applied in full. Overall, the car featured a 34% front aero balance. However, I think it's really important to note that the wind tunnel we see here doesn't have, or doesn't appear to have at least, a rolling road or any kind of moving ground plane. So how reliable the aerodynamic data is from that session, well, I'd take it with a pinch of salt. The mechanical package was also unconventional, with a Hewland 6-speed gearbox very similar to the one used on the Panos DP01 Champ car and the later DP09 Super League Formula car, with the rear suspension picking up on the casing. Now that sounds quite normal, but at the time, most Le Mans prototype designs were using a transverse gearbox as opposed to a longitudinal gearbox like you found on the Champ car, because that's the direction that the technical regulations in LMP1 and LMP2 at the time took the car designers down. However, with the Garage 56 rules, WR thought that going for a longitudinal single-seater style gearbox was a better route. WR was awarded the Garage 56 entry for the 2017 Le Mans 24 Hours, and construction of the car was well underway, with the monocoque fully completed, along with the nose and front impact structure. The chassis itself is of real interest because it has this cylindrical opening at the rear where the cryogenic tank would have been located behind the driver's seat. While this is where the fuel tank would sit on a conventional monocoque, on the WR it was quite notably a different shape. Everything looked to be set. A hugely interesting car was gonna race at Le Mans in 2017, and WR even announced plans to give the car its first shakedown run in September 2016. However, the Welter team could not secure the funding to complete the car, and it remained unfinished, and the team was forced to withdraw its entry. I saw the chassis again at a trade show a couple of years later, and while it had gained a few suspension components and the front brakes, the monocoque was still lacking a few major components. But WR hadn't given up on finishing the car, but it really just lacked the funding to get the project completed. They never really got to run the engine and didn't have the budget to do it. Today, even after the death of its founder, Welter racing does still continue and has recently restored one of its earlier Le Mans prototypes to compete in historic races. The idea of a biomethane-fueled Le Mans has also not been forgotten. WRTI, the engineering side of Welter Racing, was approached about developing a new biomethane entry for Le Mans in conjunction with a Parisian startup car company called Vision Automobiles. This car would be powered by a brand new V8 engine from Pipo, and the car itself would have a more GT style appearance than the WR Biomethane was going to be. That project though has gone really quiet in recent years. If you've enjoyed this human fueled feat of endurance, then don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and let me know if you want to know more about some of Welter Racing's other interesting designs. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon somewhere in the pit lane.